Welcome to Coffee Meets Cloud, where three women in tech come together to share real stories about leadership, life, and everything in between. Join our hosts, Karami McCollum.
In other news, these headphones, I'm going to have to do something else. I am on fire.
Cassandra Parker.
It's pretty basic. We have to stay fully caffeinated in order to do all the things that we do.
And Rachel Rogers.
I don't know if we can survive this. I feel like this one goes in the vault.
Your go-to source for candid conversations and unfiltered insights. So, grab your coffee, pull up a chair, and join the chaos.
Welcome back to another episode of Coffee Meets Cloud. Good morning, ladies. Happy Tuesday.
Happy New Year.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Haven't seen you guys since last year.
Ah,
That's not true.
No, that's not true. No, that's not true.
that's
But we
not-
haven't been on the airwaves since last year.
That is true.
But we got a great surprise lunch catch me up, which was awesome. We don't ever get to do that. So meeting in person for some lunch at the Outback. So hashtag Outback if you want to sponsor us. We'll take it.
We'll always looking for Outback sponsors, any sponsors.
Yeah.
We got real
Exactly.
fancy for that lunch.
Yeah,
But
we did.
it was good.
It
It
was
was
good.
good.
You can't go wrong with a bottle of Prosecco. And
You cannot. And look,
Grilled
the
chicken?
bottle was so much cheaper than had we ordered by the glass.
girl
So-
math. Drink
Girl
more because it is cheaper.
Or enjoy the ones you're with. There's that.
There you go.
Right.
It was still in the holiday spirit. I feel like for the holiday spirit, there may be a few extra spirits on the table, right? Than what there
Yeah.
normally are.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it was good. It was good.
It was good.
I
I
think
enjoyed it.
For those of you who don't know, especially if you don't live in Georgia, so Georgia, you may be 2 miles apart, but it could still take you 45 minutes because it's curvy roads. So I'm kind of the halfway point, I guess you would say, between Karami and Cassandra. Like if they both drove, they kind of somehow end up maybe sort of close to me. So that's where we met last week and we had a really good catch up. And I think for our catch up today on the podcast, we're struggling a little bit because we all got to see each other in real life and have really in-depth conversations. Don't worry, we don't spoil everything on the podcast. We actually do have lives that aren't on the airways. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So we got to have that side of our friendship. But I think for podcast friendship, right? We can catch up on the holidays. So I
Yeah.
went to Florida for Jamie's family time, which is interesting because we only do it every couple of years. It's not an every year thing because his sister lives in Indiana, his mom lives in Florida, and it's a very interesting family dynamic. So it was great to be in the sun in shorts, and we got to hit up the Tampa Zoo, which was a whole bunch of fun. So they didn't have a lot of animals out, so that part wasn't that great, but they have some pretty interesting little areas inside the zoo that you can get to. What about you ladies?
Never
you
been
were
to the
s-
Tampa Zoo.
And when you were saying that, it made me think of Home Alone 2. Like Florida doesn't scream Christmas to me. And so
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I would have hopped on the other plane to go to New York and just been like, see y'all
Yeah.
after Christmas.
No, it doesn't scream Christmas. It's kind of like my friends who live in Australia and have Christmas every single year in the heat, right? Because it's their summer right now when it's our winter. So that it really is mind boggling. But I guess because I grew up in Louisiana
Yeah.
and then moved to Texas, like I'm very used to hot Christmases.
Well,
it was harder
70
for me to
here.
adjust.
That's true.
Like Christmas Day, it was
Mm.
70 here. My kid
Yeah.
literally wore shorts and short sleeves
Right.
on Christmas, and it's gross.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Now,
Yeah.
to be clear, I hate the cold. I do not like it at all. I would prefer a warm, summery Christmas. That's great. Florida, yes, all the things. But I prefer Christmas to feel Christmassy and cold.
Mhm.
The year that it snowed here on Christmas was like, oh,
Even.
that doesn't happen. So when that happened, it was like everyone was in this whole other, like Christmas was just magical that year when it snowed here. That was great.
Like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
I was holding out hope because we had a really cold week the week before Christmas. And I was like, oh man, maybe we'll get lucky because I don't know if we got any snow last calendar year at all. Oh, well, maybe at the very
Well,
start we
yeah.
Yeah,
got a
we
little
did.
dusting
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
or something. Yeah. But I was
No,
let
they're
down.
talking about it like in the next couple of weeks, like the cold front that comes through. There's supposed to be some precipitation, wintry mix coming along with that. So we'll see.
All right. Crossing my fingers. That'll
Have you
just mean the
seen
kids
those?
are out of school.
Right. Have you seen those maps that's like the chances of snow in Georgia, and it'll say like these 3 different colors, and it's like no, also no, but in blue. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's Georgia.
I like those when they talk about answers in meetings, and it's like no, no in a different color,
Yep.
no in another color.
Yep. It's a different way to say no.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, our kids have been home for 2 weeks now, and so this is the first day. Well, the oldest is not back yet. He goes back tomorrow. The youngest is back to daycare because we are going back to work, and she's not thrilled. Which we sat the fence on whether to keep her out for these 2 weeks that we were off work because we knew it would get her out of the routine, and she already doesn't really care for daycare. And yeah, we're kind of kicking ourselves this morning because she's not a fan. She just keeps, every time she puts eyes on me, I don't want to go to school. And I just feel terrible.
But they have to. The routine
have
is
to.
so important. Like Liam doesn't go back till tomorrow, but he's at his little day camp, Jacket Jamboree today. Thank you, Jesus. We need some separation. We've been together too much over the last 2 weeks. We need to be apart. We are better together when we spend less time together.
See, that is 100%. Somebody would be like, why don't you want to be a stay-at-home mom? I'm like, I'm a better mom because I go to
Correct.
work.
Amen.
I commend those who can do
Same.
it. You're built different, and
You
I'm
are.
amazed by you. I couldn't. I don't know what it is, but I couldn't do it. I have friends who do it. I can't.
It's definitely a person by person thing. Like there are people who are built for it because I have a friend who is an amazing stay-at-home mom. Like she's always doing crafts and like they're always going on these little field trips. I mean, she's got like her whole day planned and everything super organized. That's not me, kids. I'd be like, just, go play. Like make yourself be alive. Like we're not doing any of that stuff.
Well, and especially when you have one, right? Like it's so much better for them to go and get that social interaction with the other kids and all that jazz versus, mommy being their sole world.
Well, and he loves it. He likes to go play with his friends and stuff. So he wasn't even upset. He was like, oh, okay, let's go. I think he's also bored with me. So.
Yeah. I think they go through stages too, because like Jeremy at one point, Kinley really did not like daycare.
Yeah.
Did not change the daycare, but magically it was better. Like a couple of months later, it was just like this cycle she was going through.
Yeah, Liam did the same thing. And sometimes it would have to do with like one year he had like a really rough year at daycare where he just cried every single day and hated it. And it's because his friend that he had the year before had gone into a different room. So he didn't get to see like his best friend at daycare every single day. And then when they got back together, he's like, oh, all of a sudden everything's fine. So.
Yeah. That's like the one time I got called because Kinley was having a rough time at daycare. And what it was is she used to they have Jelly Cats, right? It's the brand of stuffed animals. And she had a bunny. Okay. The Easter Bunny brought it to her one year. Jelly Cat became her favorite animal of all times. And we have dogs. And so Kinley grew up with dogs. She didn't grow up with brothers and sisters. So we're at daycare and daycare calls and is like, hey, we need to talk to you because she'd bring Jellycat to school, but the rule was Jellycat had to stay in her backpack, but she got to take it out for nap. Apparently, other little kids wanted to touch Kinley's Jellycat. And so Kinley would put it in her mouth like a dog and shake it and growl at people like, no, this is mine. And they were like, you have to teach her how to use her words and that she can't growl at people. And like, we're thankful she's not biting anybody as in like a possession item. But yeah, she was definitely acting like a dog and exerting her dominance for her toy.
Oh,
That's
Kinley.
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's a good one.
I'm trying to think of what all we even did over this holiday. Well, first of all, I feel very blessed and lucky to have been off for 2 weeks straight, basically. I know we went to the movies one time, went to see the Avatar movie. It was great. I mean, we had the typical go to this person's house on this day and that person's house. But even that we didn't have a ton of, which is really nice. I felt like even though it goes by in the blink of an eye, it also went by really slow, if that makes sense. Like we didn't stay busy the whole time. So we were able to really I read a lot, which has been amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, I read a ton.
I had the flu. So
yeah.
I did nothing. For my 2 weeks off, I got the gift of the flu. So I sat, which I probably needed to do because let's be clear, I never stop. I do all kinds of things all the time. So I think my body was like, no, you're going to rest. So I got the flu and sat around, but I still did go to my parents at Christmas. I just sat over in the corner and was like, please don't come near me. Because my dad and mom were like, no, you have to come. I'm like, that's fine, but I have the flu, so I've got to stay away from everybody. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
For reference, Cassandra is the Energizer Bunny. And yes, the bunny does run out of batteries. And then the bunny just crashes. And then the bunny gets new batteries and everything's okay again.
Yeah.
But for sure, hard
I am
time.
prioritizing in 2026 more downtime for myself so that I
Good.
don't crash because I am the world's worst for scheduling every minute of my life and having a million things going on. And then just what happened over Christmas, it's like, oh, nope, sorry. Now you're down for 2 weeks. So I am definitely planning. That's the only, I wouldn't even call it a resolution because I don't make resolutions. It's just my only goal for 2026 is more chill time.
Tomato, Cassandra. That's a resolution.
I don't
If you
know.
call it a resolution and you break it, I don't know, feel some kind of
You
way
feel
about
guilty
it.
about it.
Yeah.
I think like a resolution is, I don't know. I could see it differently. I do see that as a goal. I do think that is a great goal. That's what I accidentally did in 25. I didn't set out at the beginning of 25 to do that. But by the middle of 2025, it became my goal for other reasons. And I got to say, like, I am so much better because of it. I've been able to handle so many more things that I wouldn't have been able to handle in my personal life had I not made that choice. And I think it is very intentional. Like, you either have to prioritize it because you're the only one that can, right? And you're going to have to say no to things and things you actually want to do potentially. It becomes very hard. I think that's a very good thing. I think maybe, if you're a listener, it would be interesting. Don't try to make a resolution, but what's your goal? If you had to set goals for yourself for this year and for you, not for your family, not for your little ones,
Right.
not for work, just something for you and your life, what would your goal be? What would your goal be, Jeremy, if you had to set a goal?
I was actually already thinking about this in these 2 weeks I was off because I kept seeing on my social media feeds these folks talking about their goals and their resolutions, and also clips of where people did compilations of their 2025. It was like be real kind of deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it had me thinking about it. One of them is continuing to read more because I really enjoyed it in these 2 weeks, and I want to read rather than doom scroll because I'm really bad about doing that and wasting a lot of time. I feel better when I'm just reading versus consuming a bunch of junk on social media. Another one is consistent sleep because I don't know if this is a me thing or an ADHD thing, but I go through periods like I'll do really well for a period of time and then I'll get really bad about sleep hygiene and I'll watch TV until too late in the night and then not get enough hours and feel terrible. It'll just be an ebb and flow, all year. So I'd like to be consistent with that. Just for health of, whatever. And there was one other one, but now I'm having a brain fart. It was something about, just working out because we started working out again several months ago and we've been kind of slowly building out our home gym in our garage, just kind of collecting things as we go and increasing our weights as we go. And we have found we work out more when we can just do it here at home because it makes it a lot easier to fit it in our schedule.
Oh, yeah.
And so just not letting ourselves slip out of that really good habit. We work out like every other day, which comes out to like 3 days a week or so, sometimes 4, depending on how we're feeling. And I just feel better when I'm doing those things. So we'll
That's
see.
awesome.
I'm so
That's
excited.
awesome.
They opened up. I used to go to a gym. So back when I first had my bariatric surgery and lost a bunch of weight, I was going to the gym every single morning, 4:30, me and my cousin. And the gym was like 5 minutes from my house. So I could get up, get there, get home, do all the things. Felt amazing. If you struggle with going to the gym, I highly recommend going first thing in the morning. Your whole day is just completely different. And I've been missing that since I had Liam because I wasn't able to go. Well, then that gym shut down. The whole wall fell in. It was like a whole thing. Anyway, so they have completely remodeled it, reopened that gym. I'm so excited. I'm going to start going back to the gym. I'm not going to go every single day, probably at first. I'm going to make it easy on myself and try to go 2 or 3 days a week. But I really have missed that. Not me time, but just feeling those, like you get up, you get your body moving. I don't know. It's totally, I thought people were crazy who said that before I started doing it. And then it was amazing. But also, my favorite Zumba instructor's coming back down there. So I'm going to go do some Zumba. I love Zumba. It's like my favorite way to exercise. So good.
Nice.
So if you struggle with working out, I highly recommend, if you like to dance, finding a dance fitness class or a Zumba class because they are so much fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of where my goals are for it this year. It's a work-ish goal. And the reason I say a work-ish goal is because my goal is to move more. So therefore, I am blocking out intentional time on my calendar to do that. I think when you work from home, it's very easy to get behind the screen. You're there for however many hours it takes, right? Sometimes you get lunch, sometimes you don't get lunch. So I've intentionally, all of my lunches, they were blocked out last year too. And I did pretty good about making sure I kept lunch, but I didn't do good about a move break. So doing one mid-morning and one mid-afternoon to make sure that I get those breaks in. I like taking the dog for a walk, and that gets the dog steps in, makes the dog a little bit tired throughout the day. So that's going to be my goal, is to be intentional about my calendar so it's not back to back to back to back back meetings, and also to help me not just move but give myself the time to do the things I need to do my job. I think that's the other part that is really hard on people, is people see 8 hours in a calendar and they book 8 hours in a calendar, and then they wonder why the next day you didn't do anything. That has got to change. So I figured the way to change it is to start forcing blocks in my calendar. And I think the good thing is about where I work is people are actually really supportive of that. So that will be nice to hopefully kind of drive that culture a little bit better and in a little bit better direction for my direct team that's kind of gotten into this habit of just all the meetings all the time with 50 million people in them. And you're like, we don't need this many people to make a decision.
Well, and let's normalize also, it's not that important. It doesn't have to happen today, right? Like if it's not on fire, you can pick a day on my calendar later this week. It's nothing that has to happen right now. Let's just normalize, calm down, and let's meet about this maybe Wednesday or Thursday. It doesn't have to be a today problem.
That's a really lost etiquette.
Well,
meeting etiquette is completely lost.
Well,
meeting
yeah.
etiquette, yeah. Put an agenda. If you don't have an agenda, if you don't have a purpose, I don't know why I'm showing up. I'm declining.
Well, and even like to your point about picking a day that is in the future, even if you have an amazing agenda or blurb in there that explains why we need to come together and what we're going to do in the meeting, it's very frustrating when you think you know what your day is going to be. Like, because not everything we do is sitting in a meeting. There are things we have to get done in between meetings. And so I usually will plan, okay, I've got a 1 hour block, this afternoon. I'll work on that thing then. Right? Cool. But then when somebody has this thing come up that they want to discuss and they're like, oh, great, everybody's available this afternoon. Well, yeah, but only when it comes to meetings with other people. And I don't want to have to block my calendar for every single task I need to accomplish. That's not feasible either.
Mine is blocked. I went in, put hard blocks everywhere of every minute of every day has something on it. And it's my choice to say, I'm giving up my block because it is important enough for me to give up my block.
Yeah.
Or, no, I'm going to hold firm because I need this block because selfishly I have 35 things that need to be done and they're not going to get done. I
And
think
you have to hold
setting
that block though. You
setting the
have to
boundaries.
you have to
Yeah.
decline the
Decline the
meeting
meeting.
that
Mhm.
someone sends you when you say, no, I'm busy.
Right.
I can't.
I think it goes back to your boundaries conversation,
Yep.
Caramy, right?
Yep.
We are really good potentially in our personal lives at setting boundaries. We get worse and worse at work about setting those boundaries. And that's one hard line on my calendar from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You will see nothing available. You have to contact me. You have to contact I'm fortunate enough to have an EA that helps me out. Those are the people you have to contact if you want to get on my calendar, if it's absolutely necessary, right? And I may decline you. I may propose a different day. But without that, you don't ever get the time for the presentations you need to put together or the demos or,
Or the
one other,
year-end reviews.
not only year-end reviews, but one thing too, your people that work with you and work for you will have things come out throughout
Yeah.
their day that they
Yeah.
need help with. You have to prioritize putting time on your calendar to help them.
Yeah.
The gentleman we all work for, he has an hour, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. every single day, hard block. What is it for? It is for emergencies, right? So if you have something that comes up that is like, hey, like I absolutely have to talk to you, you have to reach out and tell him what it is. And he may give you 15 minutes of that hour, right? But it's dedicated time he has every single day that you know about. That's like if something were to hit the fan and you absolutely had to, you know that there potentially is time within that window that you may be able to get. But he set that time every single day. And you have to be intentional or people are going to book it, right? I used to be so bad at my calendar's up to date. Feel free what books for you, right? What works for you. And it's like, can't do that.
No, because you look at your calendar and all of a sudden you're having all these meetings, and that's how you find yourself overextended, working extra hours to try to do the work that you need to do during the day because you're sitting in meetings that don't have an agenda, that you don't necessarily have to be in. Like, we are empowered to decline those meetings without agenda. And when I started doing that, is a game changer. Like, if you don't tell me why I need to be in this meeting, the title of it is just not enough for me, right? Like, I'm declining it and saying there's no agenda here. And when you can tell me why I need to be here, I will think about maybe accepting your invitation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well,
And I've started, I used to always, when I would get invites for a time slot that I was already booked, I would always propose a new time, decline and propose a new time, decline and propose a new time. And when it's the same offender or offenders, I've stopped doing that. I just decline. Like, because now at this point, by declining and proposing a new time where I see that everybody's open, I'm just doing the job you should have done when you originally scheduled the meeting.
Correct.
And this isn't my meeting. I shouldn't be pulling up the availability and trying to propose another time. Decline. And if I really am needed there, I assume I'll get pinged like, hey, is there another time? I don't know. It's just so frustrating. But I think
it is frustrating.
But we have to normalize replying back to those. Hey, is there another time with my availability is up to date on my calendar?
Yeah.
If there's a time slot that works for everyone that doesn't work for me, let me know and I'll see what I can do. But we have got to stop, to your point, doing other people's jobs because people are so bad about, well, I'll just throw it out there and you can just propose whatever you want.
Now, I will give those people credit because there are people like me where it's all booked. You're never going to find an available time.
Sure.
Right.
But they know that about you before they try to book something with you.
Right. And those are ones of, and look, some days it really is booked. There really is no wiggle room. There's nothing to give up because those slots have been taken. But I think the proactive outreach of if you really need to talk to me, ping me on Teams, Slack me, whatever you need to do. And then I'll see what we can make work. But these whole notions of we're going to have 52 people in a meeting, you don't need me unless I'm presenting or you have a specific action item. And if you have a specific action item that requires 51 other people in that meeting, I'm going to ask you to narrow down the audience because I don't need to be on stage to have a conversation. Those meetings, they drive me nuts. Like, we shouldn't have observers. Those people have jobs too. And 9 times out of 10, they're not even paying attention to the meeting. They are doing
Right.
something else because they need to be doing something else, but they didn't feel like they had the authority to say no because they saw who was in the meeting. And so they were like, well, I guess I'm person on the totem pole. Good night. I cannot talk this
I will
morning.
play a bit of devil's advocate in that I think some part of this is a lot of organizations take business etiquette items for granted. Like they assume everybody just knows these things. Depending on where you come from and what types of roles you've had in corporate America or what types of organizations you've been in the past, and just your learning style. Like I learned a lot of that just by having good role models in past roles, like who would make comments or say things, or I just saw them doing certain things that I mimicked. But not everybody has had that. And so if an organization doesn't require training around some of these things that we consider really basic, there are truly just some people who aren't even aware. They don't
Just
even know the
clueless.
availability button exists at the
Right.
top of that meeting invite.
Right.
So, or scheduling, whatever it's called. So, I
Well,
don't
and
know.
I think there wasn't, let's assume you were in the workforce pre-COVID. I think
Mhm.
a lot of this too, there wasn't really refresher training for people post-COVID of like normalizing. I was reading this thing of like your nervous system gets caught up in this mode where it's in survival mode. And even if you change your job, even if you do this, even if you do that, like until you truly reset and you reset your mentality, you're going to get caught up in this cycle. And I think the same thing happened with the meeting culture for COVID of everybody all of a sudden had to work from home. If you weren't on camera, if you weren't here, if you weren't in 52 million meetings, nobody knew you were working, right? And heaven forbid you showed up on some report that somebody said you weren't working and you weren't doing your job. So this anxiety became of like, if I don't have my day scheduled out 8 hours a day, if I am not in meetings, if people don't see my face, if my button goes from green to yellow for far too long, I'm going to be in trouble. We never reset that. We never said, hey, time out, everyone. Hey, world, calm down. Like we are out of a pandemic. We trust you. Heaven forbid somebody trust you. I mean, we hire the best and
Heaven
trust
forbid.
them, but do they trust you?
Right.
That just wasn't reset. And I think part of that is up to us as leaders and as role models to reset and to say, you know what? This is what we're doing. This is how we're engaging. There's a lot of software out there that people are using to track computer time and to track all these different things. And it's supposedly in the vein of keeping you productive and helping you understand yourself better. But in a lot of cases, it's causing this unnecessary anxiety of, you know, am I going to keep my job? Because you can't see me every day. You can't just walk by my desk. So you're doing the virtual walk by my desk. Like, does that mean I'm going to be okay? Does it mean I'm not going to be okay? If I choose different hours, what happens then? There's just a lot, of anxiety. I think that's something we can maybe tackle as leaders this year of just setting that example. We can't change the world, but we can change our immediate domain.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you, I work far more at home than I ever did at an office because so many people would just walk by my desk and say, "Oh, hey, do you have 5 minutes?" Sure. And then we talk about the work problem for 5 minutes, but then maybe about their kids for 10 minutes or whatever the thing was, right? Not that that's a bad thing, but that happened all the time in an office where now I'm much more focused, maybe scheduled out too much with all the meetings, which we need to change, but I do way more work from home than I ever did in office, not to mention not having to commute. That right there can take in Atlanta traffic. If you live in Atlanta, Atlanta traffic can take you an hour to get to work. It could be 3 hours to get to work, depending on what happens, right? 400 gets shut down. You're sitting forever. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's any major city. I think
Mhm.
working from home, there are plus sides and downsides, right? Like you have to be more intentional about movement. You have, to manage anxiety and pressure a little bit differently. In the office, you get to create personal connections. You get to go to lunch with people. You get to have more of that social aspect than maybe what you get to have when you are remote. I do like a little bit of hybrid, which is what I'm in now, which there are some weeks that are in the office and some weeks that are remote. So it gives you that ability to go and connect and have in-person conversations and those sorts of things. But at the same time, you get the space and the autonomy to work and get things done. So, and I think you ladies have that a little bit, maybe not every month, but you've got it a
Yeah.
little bit more frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. When I was hired, I was told I was going to have to go into the office a lot more than it ended up being, which I was nervous about because that commute, and back then it was even farther than it is for me now. And I was like, oh, but everything else about this job is great. So I'm just going to have to figure out how to make it work. And then it was never actually like that. I think in the beginning, it was like going in once every 2 or 3 months. And then it some quarters of the year, it's not even that, so it really just depends on the need.
Yeah. And now that we're no longer considered Atlanta-based employees, we're Georgia work from home employees, it's even less. We go in for like PI events. So
Yep.
it's not too bad. And I think that's honestly, out of all the bad that came out of COVID, this hybrid work model and the flexibility for scheduling has been the best thing that came out of that whole pandemic, was the ability for us to have this. You can hire the best talent because you can hire from anywhere, because we're all working from home. So it doesn't matter, right? You can have basically this pool of talent for the entire country, where before it was only who was available in your area. So you get better people. You have like great team working relationships. People enjoy the flexibility to say, hey, on my lunch break, I need to take an extra 30 minutes and run out to my kid's school for a program. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to schedule a half day off to be able to do that anymore, because before you couldn't do that. So that's the best thing to me that came out of the pandemic. There had to be some good that came out of it.
Yeah. I think it's all about your career choice. And not
Mhm.
everybody's career choice has that luxury to have remote
Yeah.
options like teachers and
Right.
paramedics and all of those jobs that we depend on. And we all need those people to do their amazing jobs and do their work. But for those of us who get that luxury, I think it is a nice luxury. But I think you have to be careful with it, just like anything, right? There are people that abuse it, and those people do need to be called out, and those people do need to be handled appropriately. But that doesn't mean that it's not good for other people and that it doesn't work, and it doesn't make, the Cassandras and Karamis of the world work harder because they are able to have that autonomy, versus if they were in the office, you'd still get great product, but maybe not as much as you could from a full potential standpoint. So I think all of those things are important as we look for our kids, right? If you had to set a goal for your kiddo for 2026, what would your goal for your kiddo be? For me, it's Kenley started with the chronic pain management clinic out of Children's Hospital of Atlanta. So the goal for her for this year is to do all the things in the program, which may sound simple, but we're talking about multiple physical therapy appointments a week, multiple types of appointments throughout several months. Right now it's a 6-month program, but it could be extended based on a variety of factors. And that could be a lot on a kiddo, right? They're doing school, they're navigating their life, right? And now they've got this medical item that is kind of sprung on them, but hopefully makes all the other parts of their lives a little bit easier and better. But I know it's going to be hard, right? It's going to be hard for her. It's going to be hard for me to maintain the schedule of, once I get off of work, go pick her up from school, go take her to the therapy appointments, right? All of that jazz. Making sure, like we have this flexibility with work, making sure I incorporate all my time and my meetings around the time that we've got to go, because the appointment's an hour. It takes 30 minutes to get there, 30 minutes to drive home. So you're looking at 2 hours a day that we've got to try to incorporate in. So that is my goal, is to have her at the end of this. Hopefully this program makes her better and things are great, but at least, give the program all the attention that it needs to set ourselves up for the best outcome.
For Liam, it's our goal this year is going to be just looking and seeing how we can best help him. He's been struggling a little bit in school. So we're going through some evaluations with him in the next few weeks to see if we can get him some help. because I want to do the best that we possibly can for him, and make sure that he's not frustrated and struggling and there's nothing that we can do to help him. So we're going to make that a goal, and also getting him involved in some kind of activity this year, whether it's karate or something like that, or if it's a sport. We tried it when he was 3 and it did not go well, but he was also not in the right headspace for it then. So I think now we're going to try a few different things this year and just see what he enjoys and try different things and find the thing he enjoys. He got a drum set for Christmas, and so maybe we'll have drum lessons. I don't know. He's been banging on it, but that doesn't really sound like music. So there's that. Let's be clear. It's an electronic drum set with headphones, so it's not that bad. I'm not that crazy.
Smart.
Yeah.
Headphones are smart.
Yes.
For mine, the little one is only 4, so we're just kind of, it's her world. We're just living in it, right? We did, I think I told you guys, we signed her up for a little dance class, a little 6-week thing. So we want to kind of start getting her into some things, finding what she's into, not really because she needs it per se, but just to start to develop her own little community of friends or acquaintances that she may go to school with or whatever. Because there aren't a lot of kids her age in our neighborhood like there are for Rowan. And so I just want to make sure she has other little girls that she can be around. And for Rowan, more of the same as in this last year. Help him feel as well adjusted as he can be with the disorder that he struggles with. I'm reading 12 Principles of Raising a Child with ADHD, which is phenomenal. I may have linked it on the website. I'll have to check. But I'm still in the process of setting the goals for him because the book is teaching us what are reasonable goals, if that makes sense, and what the things are that we can work on and practicing and things like that. And then, he starts seeing I always get it confused whether it's a psychologist or psychiatrist, but
It's a psychologist. The psychiatrists are the ones that can prescribe medicine.
well,
I think.
this is a, but that
Then
this
I guess
might,
it's a psychiatrist.
yeah, whichever one it is. I'm there's so much because
Google knows.
he's got that first appointment in June, which is wild to me because we scheduled it before the end of the year and it's not until June. But I'm getting so confused with all the appointments because then he's got the speech therapy appointment because he has developed a stutter, which I'm kind of hoping is just his medication because that we can adjust and maybe make it easier on him. I don't know. But anyway, just figuring out more about how to make him feel confident and competent no matter what he's experiencing in his social life, his academic life at school, being his safety net at home, being his biggest cheerleader always. We'll see. I'll keep you posted.
By the way, I did a Google. The main difference between psychologists and psychiatrists is in their treatment approaches. So psychologists treat patients through behavioral intervention, while psychiatrists are medical doctors who can actually prescribe medications.
Then I'm going to assume it's psychologist because this is behavioral health.
Yes.
Behavioral therapy.
Right.
Yeah.
Remember when there was no Google and you had to go to
What
a
did you
library?
do?
You went to a library. You used the Dewey
had, like,
Decimal System.
Encyclopedias at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, even if you had an encyclopedia at home, that was a whole thing. You would have had to look both those terms up individually and then compare and contrast on your own.
Mm-hmm. My parents did have the World Book encyclopedias, so that's what I used for all my research papers back in the olden days when
they used to go door to door and sell those things.
Oh, they did, and they were expensive. It was an investment. I remember my grandfather. I think he only ever bought one set, and that was like in the 60s. And that set is still in their house today. I went through it the other day just because it was interesting, because it was like, like a time capsule. Like, look at what we thought of the world in the 60s, right? And all the great discoveries we had and all this wonderful information that was in the encyclopedias. And you look at it now and you're like, really?
Well, and once you bought the set, it like in the 60s, you had to then buy the yearly update book so that you could get all the new things every single
Right.
year, or it's
And he
out of
didn't
date.
buy those. He didn't buy
Right.
those, right?
So it's just a
it was
time capsule of the
but
60s.
what was I remember very distinctly growing up, he would always reference them. He never had the updated version, but he would always "Oh, I think that's in my encyclopedia. Let me go get it." And he would go get it and he'd sit down and tell you what was in the encyclopedia and show you the page and, this is what it says and this is why, I can't just take our kids, throw them back and just even say the 80s and watch their heads explode.
Listen, Rowan's baseline for the olden days is the 90s, and it's driving me crazy. Every time he's making a reference to something that he considers to be old, it's, oh, yeah, back in the 90s. Oh, you mean back in the 90s? No, sir. No, I do not mean back in the 90s. You have no idea.
I mean, back in the 50s or the 60s.
Well, the whole notion of like, oh, the 1900s. I'm like, I was born in the 1900s.
I was born in the 1900s.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I tell y'all something? This is totally unrelated, but you talking about the 60s is what made me think of it. We just finished the last season of Stranger Things last night.
Oh, it's so good. We did too.
I'm really happy with it.
Me too.
I'm not going to say anything specific. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but we were both saying like, that really is the best way, like to still tie up all the loose ends. That's really the best way they could have done it all, the way they did it. Yeah.
Have you seen all the theories about people saying that there's going to be something that comes out on January 7th?
No.
Oh, now that I've said that, it'll be all over your TikTok. But there are all these people who have come up with all these theories that this is not the end. And again, I'm not gonna.
They definitely seem like they left it open.
Yeah.
But I saw like where Millie Bobby Brown was on Fallon, and they were talking about the different theories that are floating around, and she was kind of reacting to them.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one, or they didn't talk about that one in the clip that I saw, but
No.
yeah.
Well, that was before it came out. So now but by the way, that was in the 80s, not the 60s.
No, I know.
Okay.
But just like the jumping back and the older styles and things made it pop in my head.
I don't like sci-fi television at all, and I don't do horror or anything like that. So the fact that I enjoyed this show as much as I did, and it grabbed me from the beginning, like the reason that I started watching it because it was a throwback to like the 80s, and I wanted to just see the retro stuff of it, right? So when we started watching it, I was like, this is a really good show, and it grabbed me right at the beginning. It's totally different than it was when it started, let's be clear, because it took 10 years to make 5 seasons, but whatever. That's
Well, I've never seen it, so I guess that's a good time to
you
jump
should,
into it.
because now you can binge as much of it as you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can watch the whole thing.
But every time I watch it, I find myself going, I really feel like these two brothers wrote this thing and had no idea it was going to amount to anything, because in a lot of ways, this is the goofiest. Like, I can just picture two brothers just writing what they consider to be like the goofiest thing, and then it just like it blew up, it took off. Like, where they probably weren't even prepared.
But those are the best ones, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
When you
for
don't,
sure.
when you just start out with a genuine passion and a genuine idea, and then somehow it takes off, like this podcast.
Exactly.
Hey,
It's gonna, take off in its own right. But with that, unfortunately, it is that time.
It is that time. Well, thanks for tuning into this week's episode of Coffee Meets Cloud. If today's catch up is something you like to hear, or we inspired you or made you feel more seen, we'd love for you to share the show with a friend, leave a review, hit the follow button so you never miss an episode. You can connect with us on socials at Coffee Meets Cloud, or visit our website at coffeemeetscloud.com. Thanks for listening. And until next time, ladies, we'll see ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.